Abu Zaid, Commissioner of Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Hassane Mayaki, Chief Executive Officer of the NEPAD Agency, Ms. Kara Maltese Robin, Commission Director for Climate and Prosperity, Mr. John Yelming, Director General of the Belt and Road Unit, National Development and Reform Commission, the People's Republic of China, my friend and colleague Ambrose Marawa, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure Development, distinguished Permanent Secretaries, our cooperating partners present here, representatives from the sister regional organizations, representatives of the media, and all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocol observers. It is my great honor today and privilege to be amongst you on behalf of the Secretary General of COMESA. We just ended our policy organ meeting yesterday. You know, COMESA, like any other organization, has got its decision-making process. And one of the decision-making processes that the ministers should meet. So for the end of the year, we just concluded our policy organ meeting yesterday, and that's the reason why our Secretary General could not make it. But definitely, maybe as a fifth PIDA week, it would certainly be among you. So it is a great honor for us to be welcoming the fourth PIDA Week conference being hosted in the Republic of Zimbabwe. In the Republic of Zimbabwe, which is one of the COMESA member states, one of the founding member states of what we call before COMESA, the Preferential Trade Area, and now known as COMESA. I will say that the theme of the fourth week is PIDA implementation through good governance, realizing small infrastructure for Africa integration. The first PIDA week takes place at this historical venue, Victoria Falls, mostly at Tunia. The smoke that thunders is all the name of Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls is positioned almost exactly halfway along the mighty Zambezi River, 2,700 kilometers from its source to the sea. Here the river plunges headlong into a 100-meter vertical, spanning the full 1.5 kilometer reach of the river, creating the biggest current of flowing water in the world and one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. I wish to thank NEPAD, the African Union Commission, and the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe for organizing the PIDA Week and shooting this beautiful venue. I think I have done quite a good praise for Victoria Falls, and those who have been here maybe a day or 2 days before me, you might have already seen the beauty of this beautiful place. The warm weather and excellent facilities placed at our disposal by our greatest hope overwhelmed for the success of this very important infrastructure meeting. Our guest of honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express our profound and sincere gratitude to His Excellency, Mr. Emerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, the government and the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe, for accepting COMESA and NEPAD requests to host this meeting and for the warm hospitality accorded to the delegates and to myself since our arrival in Victoria Falls. The acceptance to hold the event demonstrates the commitment of the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the wide leadership of His Excellency the President Emerson Mnangagwa to COMESA and the regional integration of the continental level. Our guest of honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is taking place at a time when Africa is aspiring to industrialize, to end poverty, and to generate employment for the 12 million young people who join its labor force every year. One of the key factors regarding or retarding industrialization has been the insufficient stock of small infrastructure in energy, transport, water, and ICT services that would allow firms to thrive in industries with strong competitive advantages. Estimated by institutions such as the African Development Bank suggests that the continent's infrastructure needs amount to 130 to 170 billion a year, with a financing gap in the range of 68 to 108 billion. Institutional investors such as insurance companies, pension firms, and sovereign wealth funds have more than 100 trillion in assets and the management globally. A small fraction of the excess global saving and low resources would be enough to plug Africa's financing gap and finance productive and profitable infrastructure. Our guest of honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my belief that this meeting will provide a platform to search through innovative ideas through which the most needed infrastructure development can be accelerated by addressing crucial issues around infrastructure, planning, preparation, and financing. I would urge us and all stakeholders to continue engaging on the subject of effective delivery of infrastructure on the continent, focusing specifically on good governance and how it can specifically help to improve the various facets of infrastructure development. Our guest of honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of continuous transformation change that requires three elements: knowledge, learning, and innovation. It is my conviction that this transformative change is an integral part of infrastructure development. As we talk and discuss cross-border infrastructure development, we will not give a blind eye to the reality of our bursting urban population, water, and sanitation. Guest of honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I know that our time is limited and our guest of honor has to catch a flight in the next 1.5 hours. I think it will be not appropriate for me to read the whole that is written for me. It might be about 1.5 hour that is written. But what I would simply say that this is the gathering of the biggest mind of the region, continental, not only regional, but continental and global. And I wish you all, first of all, you are all welcome in my Commercial Secretary. We are very pleased to be hosting this first week of the PIDA, and we would like to see and look forward for the resolution and your recommendation for implementation. With this, I thank you all. I will sincere that I have no doubt in my mind that given your combined wisdom and intellect, your meeting will once again move the PIDA program to greater heights. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dave, for preparing your speech. I'm sure you can also circulate it so that we can see the rest of the information. Without further ado, let me call upon Ms. Carla Montensi, Director for Planet and Prosperity, to come and give us very much.
Thank you. And Honorable Mr. Matiza, Your Excellencies, Acting Commissioner Dr. Amana Abdul-Leeds, High Representative for Infrastructure, Excellency Odinga, Benefited Chief Executive Dr. Magaki, Secretary General of COMESA, Mr. Ravoni, distinguished participants and all protocol observers. Let me say that I'm very happy to join you and to represent the European Commission. That is important for PIDA Week. As was said, in Carla Montesi, Director from the European Commission, I was director in charge of Western Africa and Central Africa, so people coming from this part of region know better than me, but I took the responsibility recently on the new job on investment and on the follow-up of implementing also PIDA, so it's a very pleasure for me to meet you for this first time. As you know, one of the main objectives of the European Union is to support African countries, to support the African Union to achieve the 2063 agenda, and there promote inter-Africa trade, promote economic integration. It's a key element, and to do this, of course, we need the further development of a sustainable connectivity. This building on PIDA and building on the PIDA. The engagement of the European Union is not something that is new to you. Let me just underline that during the last decades, from 2007 to 2017, our financial contribution amounted to some 10 billion euros. So this means roughly 1 billion per year. And this support will continue in the next 2 years until 2020, when we will be starting negotiating the new multi-annual framework. 1 year ago, we have launched what we call the external investment plan. We have created new financial instruments as blending and guarantee, because the key issue was to identify new financial instruments to finance infrastructure. We have a proposal to bring 4.1 million in cash and in pledges to leverage 44 billion of public and private investment by 2020. This is not a promise, this is a reality. Let me just underline that in the last 2 years, we have mobilized for clearer projects in the energy and the transport sector, also in the water sector. We have committed 700 million in investment, committed. So project that has become a reality. And this intervention, these grants, have a leverage 7.5 billion euro in investment. So it's not a promise, it's a reality, it's something that is happening today. During last December, during the 15th African Union European Union Summit in Abidjan, our leaders, European and Africans, have called to invest more in job creation. And this is the reason why, just last September, the President Juncker have reiterated the European Union engagement, proposing to our African partners an Africa-Europe alliance for sustainable investment and jobs. The idea is to unlock every more private investment where they are able to create more jobs. And of course, when we look to the sector, we're speaking about transport, connectivity, digital, energy, and the agro industry. This implies that more than ever, PIDA will have to play an essential role in implementing this new alliance, an essential role to build growth in your continent. So the European Commission is, I would say, excited to continue to join force with you to make the PIDA a success and the PIDA implementation a success story. We'll be listening in some minutes all the success that have been implementing in this first phase of the PIDA, and let me frankly congratulate all those that are strongly engaged in this process. Of course, you know very well that many challenges remain to be tackled if we want to really succeed in connecting Africa. And in order to drive sustainable development, we have now to invest in quality infrastructure. it's more important than ever, given also the increasing demand for quantity. So prioritizing such quality infrastructure has become essential, and PIDA will further play a fundamental role to guide strategic investments within an integrated, coherent, multi-sectoral approach. A multi-sectoral approach that have to aim also at economic and social development. Furthermore, let me underline that looking at the rapidly changing global, it is illusionary to believe that business as usual will suffice. So today we need to identify solutions to massive growing in private sector to bridge the infrastructural gap. We need to tackle the environmental, climate change, and the social dimension of the infrastructure. We need to engage even more, and we have the possibility to discuss during this day, to engage even more in governance and in debt sustainability if we want really to succeed to achieve results on our investment. So all these challenges have to be tackled during the remaining period of implementing of the present PIDA, and of course during the preparation of the PIDA Priority Action Plan 2, that as the European Union will be most than happy to continue to support. So ladies and gentlemen, once again very happy to join you during this preparation, this work. PIDA has to remain a key catalyst for the regional infrastructure, for job creation and for growth. And the European Union will continue to support the African Union and its member states to face the challenges and the perspective for a successful evolution of PIDA towards the next decade. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Director, for the reaffirmation of continued technical and financial support from the European Union. Next, please allow me to call upon Mr. Xiang Wenning to give his remarks.
Honorable Minister Maitiza, Honorable CEO Ayaki, Honorable Commissioner Amani, all high representatives, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It is my pleasure to attend this PIDA meeting on behalf of National Development and the Reform Commission of Chinese government. I would like to share with you some of my personal proposals on cooperation between China and Africa. First, with joint efforts of the international community, including Africa, positive outcomes have been achieved in jointly building the Belt and Road Initiative. In 2013, Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed this initiative, which adheres to the Belt and Road spirit of peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, mutual learning and mutual benefit. This initiative is guided by the three principles of mutually consulting, jointly building, and shared benefits. Over the past 5 years, the Belt and Road Initiative has transformed from concept into action, from aspiration into reality, and become an important public product widely welcomed around the world. Communication has been strengthened on development strategy and policies. China has signed 168 BRI cooperative documents with 149 countries and international organizations. Through these agreements, the consensus on cooperation has been developed in many areas, widely secularizing policies, rules, and standards. Infrastructure connectivity has been significantly improved. Many projects on interconnection and production capacity have been launched, and some of them have come into operation. China-Europe regular railway cargo service has connected 40,000 cities in 15 European countries, and the total transportation has surpassed 11,000 trains. Trade and investment cooperation continuously deepening. The total cargo export-import value between China and the countries along Belt and Road reached $6 trillion. $28 billion has been invested in building 82 economic and trade cooperation zones, which have created 240,000 jobs and 2 billion tax revenues for the host countries. Financial services have been greatly enhanced. 11 Chinese banks established 71 first-level branches in the countries along the Belt and Road. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the Silk Road Fund participated in financing cooperation projects and provided diverse channels for financing. People-to-people exchange has been widely expanded. By the end of last year, the number of exchange students between China and the countries along the Belt and Road exceeds 370,000. Second, promoting infrastructure connectivity is not only an integrated component of BRI, but also the priority area of China-Africa cooperation. There is a Chinese saying, better roads lead to better life. 20 years ago, Chinese government introduced the Western Development Strategy to accelerate the development in the Western region of China. One of the important tasks of this strategy is to reinforce infrastructure constructions. 20 years on, earth-shaking changes have taken place. Railway mileage reached 54,000 kilometers, including 8,000 kilometers high-speed railway. Highway mileage surpassed 50,000 kilometers, and 114 civil airports have been built, accounting for half of the total in China. All this infrastructure development provides a solid basis for the fast and healthy development in Western China, and the gap between the Western and the Fast Coast region has been substantially narrowed. Third, China-Africa cooperation reaches a new period. Following of China-Africa cooperation, Beijing Summit in September this year approved Beijing Declaration, and following on China-Africa cooperation Beijing Action Plan. In order to implementing the above-mentioned documents, I would like to make 3 proposals as follows. 1. Enhancing the synergy of development strategies and plans. We propose to follow a strong synergy between the Belt and Road Initiative and Agenda 2063 of the African Union, as well as the development strategies of African countries. Second, promoting the interconnectivity of rules and standards based on more than 40 years reform and opening up. China has accumulated rich practical experiences in infrastructure planning, designing, construction, operation, and maintaining, and a comprehensive system of rules and standards on infrastructure has been established compliance with international best practice. We are committed to cooperate with African Union and its member states to strengthen capacity building on rules and standards for improving self-development capability of African infrastructure. Second, third, deepening China-Africa cooperation on infrastructure. We support Chinese companies to cooperate with African countries on developing infrastructure, complying with market rules and commercial principles and international conventions. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, benefiting from high level of political mutual trust and strong economic complementary, China and Africa are fully committed to jointly building an even stronger China-Africa community with a shared future. Let's work hand in hand. Fully focus on development and lay the foundation for common prosperity of China and Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks to Mr. Xiang Weiming for outlining the program of cooperation between China and Africa and also proposing the way forward in enhancing that cooperation. Let me this time call upon Honorable Raila Omoro Odinga, the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you. Honorable Joel Igi Matiza, Minister of Transport and Infrastructure, Government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Amina Abu Zaid, the Commissioner of Infrastructure and Energy, African Union, Dr. Mayaki, the CEO of NEPAD, Assistant Secretary General, Dr. Dev Hanan of COMESA, Mrs. Carlo Montesi, Director of the European Union, Mr. Xiao Weiming, Director General, Road and Belt Initiative. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking my brother Ibrahim Mayaki here and the AU Commission for inviting me to this PIDA week of 2018. This meeting is taking place in one of the world's greatest natural wonders, that also showcases Africa's potential, the Victoria Falls in the Republic of Zimbabwe. As you are aware, a few weeks ago, the chairperson of the African Union, His Excellency, Mr. Musa Faki Mahamat, appointed me to a task that few are called upon to perform. That is, to serve our people and our continent at a time we are pursuing a 50-year transformational agenda of the Africa we want in Agenda 2063. And it's a task that I'm very pleased to perform. For this recognition and call to duty as a servant of my continent, I am most humble and thankful to my brother, the chairperson. My task as infrastructure champion is to accelerate our transboundary connectivity through infrastructure. And by infrastructure here, I mean roads, highways, railways, energy, the ICT infrastructure, the air transport, and so on. I therefore call all of you present here today to put hands on the wheels, and we all push in the same direction. If we all commit to this common cause, our effort will be realized sooner rather than later. Realizing our continent's development agenda will require fundamental change in behavior and mindsets. It requires taking transformative decisions and being innovative in the way we approach persistent problems. With regard to infrastructure, these problems include inadequate road and air connectivity, resulting trade deficits, which we as a continent have come to accept as the normal state of affairs. I mentioned this morning that travel in Africa is a hazard. Seriously. I may give an example of trying to charter a plane to fly from Nairobi to Lagos. You have to get clearance from Uganda, civil aviation, from DRC, Central African Republic, Republic of Congo, Cameroon, and Nigeria. It takes you 2 to 3 days to get those clearances. And you ask yourself, what crime are you going to commit in the airwaves, in the airspace, in those countries? The IATA, International Air Transport Association, estimates that if only 12 African countries open their airspace, 155,000 jobs will be created, plus a GDP growth of $1.5 billion. We live in the digital information age. We must therefore fast track the unblocking of political bottlenecks for the ICT broadband and fiber optic projects linking our states. Africa's children and leadership must be held to access information at the click of a button, or we shall never compete. In this quest, old habits and old paradigms must give way to well thought out initiatives, and I'm glad we have embarked on this. I see such a shift in the creation of the Presidential Infrastructure Champion Initiative, EICI, and the High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa initiative. For these initiatives to yield results, we must overcome another set of old habits. Those of themselves become industries in Africa. Volumes are shifted from Zambia to Malawi, to Morocco, and so on and so forth. We must change this. We are not inventing the wheel. We have tried and proven delivery mechanisms that we could implement with modification to ensure speedy and smart delivery. These mechanisms exist within government files. They are also with our private sector partners. They are with our development partners who should be willing to share them with us, hopefully, without conditions or strings attached. The last thing Africa needs at this point in time is partnership with strings and conditions. Such smart delivery instruments like design and build, turnkey, framework contracting, to name but a few, will come in handy for the continent and help us get out of the trap of feasibility studies. Implementing the priority infrastructure flagship projects, we will need to avoid the traditional and long gestation delivery mechanisms that bogs down our public sectors and resort to the market for efficiency, measured and time-bound delivery. Over the next 2 years, we will work closely with key stakeholders, which include member states, regional economic communities, AU Specialized Technical Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Development Partners to deliver impactful projects identified as low-hanging fruits. These include establishment of the joint corridor coordinating authorities for the efficient management of vital economic arteries or corridors of our continent, championing the ratification of the intergovernmental agreements, the development of the trans-African highways, the missing links, and the adoption of the minimum technical norms and standards for AU member countries, championing the establishment of lead national and regional agencies on road safety as recommended by the AU Specialized Technical Committee. We recognize the need for equitable and balanced development opportunities among the trans-African corridors in the course of implementing the high-level infrastructure championing initiative. We will therefore include as part of our project selection criteria for the upgrading of the Trans-African Highway missing links, peace dividend project awards, and so on. Africa's transformation as outlined in Agenda 2063 will require agents of change or projects of monumental scale to trigger and give impetus to the social and economic transformation Agenda 2063. We must explore the new frontiers of connectivity. The opening of what we call the African Beltway, that is the Land Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia Transport Corridor project connecting the eastern and the western Central African deep sea ports of Lamu in the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic port of Douala in Cameroon will need to be scoped and tabled for the turnkey development project. And that will open up the middle of Africa. All those landlocked countries will be connected to the sea. We will champion the continental high-speed freight train and several of those other projects that we'll be dealing with. In conclusion, I want to say that what I do know, however, is that all that we're talking about is doable if all of us push in the same direction. I therefore count on all of you, my fellow Africans and friends of Africa, to join us to see the dreams of our founding fathers and aspirations of our children and grandchildren fulfilled for the better and inclusive Africa. I finish the quotation about the African lion. I've been talking severally in other fora about the African lion. And this is about the message of African lion, the European bear, the Asian tiger, to the American panda. But today I just want to quote somebody else, Mr. David Kwame, in the current edition of National Geographic. He's been studying some lions here in Zimbabwe. And they named one of them A-boy, the other one was B-boy, and the other one was C-boy. Now this C-boy actually interested him a lot. He died just a few weeks ago at the age of 14. It's a mature age for a lion. But he adored that lion. And I'm quoting what he said about that lion. That C-boy had everything an African lion should be. It's everything an African lion should be. And that is resourceful, cantankerous, patient, proud but pragmatic, seemingly indestructible, continually impelled and gorgeous to behold. That is an African land. And we want you to give the African land the opportunity to rise and serve the people of Africa. Thank you.
Many thanks to Honorable Odinga for these insights in terms of the functions of his office and also outlining these key entry points in terms of carrying out those duties and asking us that we all should be sea-boy lions in doing our task as PIDA family. Moving forward, let me call upon Commissioner Dr. Amani Abu Zaid to make a statement.
Which time do I have?
1 second.
Good afternoon, everyone. But well, some of them have listened to me this morning, so I may repeat myself. But before I start, let me maybe address His Excellency Minister for Transport and Infrastructure Development of Zimbabwe, our host, His Excellency Honorable Raila Odinga, the high-level representative of the African Union of Africa for Infrastructure Development, my brother, Dr. Mayaki, CEO of NEPAD, a representative of REX, and my sister, representative of AGB. So our pillars, African pillars, our partners and strategic partners. We have here the European Union, China, GIZ is also in the audience, and many more. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed an honor for me to be here and for this particular purpose, knowing how important PIDA is for Africa. I'm not going to dwell on the importance of infrastructure for development and growth for all our nations, but nor on the importance of regional integration for the continent to unlock the continent and to help us lead forward in all directions. I mean, especially now that we've launched the African Free Trade Area and the Single African Air Transport Market, specifically Honorable Raila Odinga, for the purpose of reducing the time and effort going from one place to another, but also reducing the cost, and then make use of our beautiful continent for trade, for tourism, for job creation, and many other things. I have a 10-page speech, but maybe I will only choose parts of it to deliver. But I was very happy to that this meeting took place here in this beautiful spot of Africa, which I would choose to continue calling the small service. And it's very symbolic. I kept looking at that bridge between Zambia and Zimbabwe. Well, the continent is one. Zambezi doesn't know, frontiers. The continent is one. For some reason or another, we found ourselves with 54 countries or 55 countries. But it is now time to build that bridge. We are building it. We're building it in a very smart way, because it has to be smart. And I'm stressing on that, and it's not by accident, that the title of this, or the theme for this meeting is Smart Infrastructure. Because we are determined not only to build roads and to build energy grids or to ensure that the railways are running, but we want the latest and the best. I think you heard it earlier. Two speakers who emphasized the issue of quality, and one important aspect of quality is also to make advantage of the new technologies that are available at our reach, especially on the continent. We keep saying we have 90% rate of penetration of mobile, but ICT is not just the mobile. We went far beyond that, and we want to see it also in infrastructure. I particularly wish to thank His Excellency, the Honorable Raila Odinga, for all the work and the push that he, even though he was recently appointed, he started right away, trying to give us a very important push in order to expedite and fast track some of the initiatives. And I'm really thankful for the effort he already started doing right away as soon as he was appointed. The PIDA week is an excellent opportunity for all the decision makers, project developers, private sector, civil society, and academia to exchange views and try to find solutions towards the implementation of regional infrastructure projects on the continent. And meeting the infrastructure needs, yes, it's a huge amount. We talk about 130, 170 billion US dollars a year. You heard me this morning, and everywhere I go, this also means 130, 170 billion dollars opportunity every year. And it's up to us, Africans, to turn this gap into opportunity, investment opportunity, by thinking and rethinking the governance of our projects, the packaging of our projects, the way we are also communicating the good practices and the good projects to African and non-African investors. At the African Union, we, of course, there are various initiatives, and I did mention the single African air transport market. There are so many more, but what we need now is also to ensure, while we have this smart infrastructure, to ensure that we also, the element of job creation is there, our youth, gender, inclusion, and the potential, the impact as well for that, the climate resilience, which is a very important aspect also to be taken into account when we develop this important infrastructure. I'm saving the best for last, because I wanted to present the deep gratitude and thanks to the COMESA for helping us have this meeting here, but mostly for the Republic of Zimbabwe for hosting the meeting. As I said, I couldn't think of a more beautiful place across the continent, but also a more symbolic place for this meeting. And I'm confident from all the discussions, bilateral discussions I've been having since I arrived, also discussing with others, I mean, all the impressions that we're having, I'm sure that we'll get to a very positive outcome of this meeting. And please, I would very much appreciate if you would, Your Excellency Minister, convey our deep thanks and gratitude to all the authorities, to His Excellency, the President, and everybody that helped make this meeting come to life. And I thank you.
Let me also thank the Commissioner for being very practical and saving us time. Our Minister is running out of time. I know Dr. Mayaki, whom I'm calling upon, will also be very strategic and work like a surgeon and deliver his statement in as little time as possible to allow us to give the minister at least a chance to say a few words before he departs. Dr. Mayan.
Thank you. Thank you for putting pressure on me. Honorable Joel B. Matiza, Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development of the Government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, Her Excellency and my dear sister Amani Abu Zaid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, African Union Commission, Assistant Secretary General of COMESA, Mr. Xiao Wenming, Director General of Belt and Road Initiative, Ms. Carla Montesi, Director for Planet and Prosperity of EUC, and my dear sister Mono, Director for Regional Integration at the African Development Bank. So, having had the pressure from my dear brother here, I will reorganize my speech in order to. I see that you even left a note, 2 minutes left. Huh? So, okay, good. So my first point will be, I will improvise. I don't know if I'm good at improvising, but I'll try. My first point is what has happened up to now. Before we came with PIDA as a strategic framework and we decided to implement it. What happened was a silent managerial revolution in our continent. Macroeconomic reforms taking place in most of our countries, sound regulatory frameworks being put in place, strengthening regional economic communities, and then within the AU processes and structures, framing continental strategic frameworks. We have 11 of them. PIDA is one of them. We have STISA in science, technology, innovation. We have CADEP in agriculture, etc. We have 11 of them. These 11 are coherently synthesized in Agenda 2063 with flagship projects. So PIDA is a condensation of a process which started at the regional economic communities level and through an iteration allowed the targeting of key priority regional projects in energy, in transport, in ICT, in water, etc. So what is it about? There is one fundamental dimension, is regional integration. All what we do is about regional integration because we believe at the African Union that the optimal solution to national problems is a regional solution. It's not a national solution. So we are getting there progressively. But it started with these macroeconomic reforms which brought stability and sound regulatory frameworks. Now, what is exactly happening? If we look at our culminated efforts since the launch of PIDA in 2012, strong progresses have been made. Let's look at the PIDA PAP, Priority Action Plan of PIDA portfolio. More than 400 projects in 51 cross-border programs covering 4 sectors of transport, 235, energy 54, ICT 113, and transboundary water resources management 9 projects. Of these, currently, about 32%, 32, are either under construction or already operational. 16% of projects are being structured for tendering, while about 26% of projects have moved from concept to pre-feasibility and feasibility phases. Therefore, PIDA Week, this week, which brings together key stakeholders in the implementation of PIDA programs, allows us all to take stock of this progress which has been made and redouble our efforts in advancing implementation within the next 2 years, so that the percentage of projects to undergo construction will significantly increase from the current 32% to 50%. Such an increase is possible, as the Right Honorable Raila Odinga was saying, is possible as we do have a pipeline of projects which have undergone preparation and packaging for financing. And as Commissioner Abu Zaid was saying, the key issue there is acceleration. So if we want regional integration to take place, we need to accelerate. And that's fundamental. As you know, the first PIDA week, which was held under the auspices of the African Development Bank, was focused on regional integration. So we started well. And afterwards, it was on job creation, and now we are on the governance issues. Governance here means governance at every level, national, regional, and continental. And at the core of the governance system are the regional economic communities, because they are the real implementers of PIDA. And we need, as the African Union, Commission and its executing agency, NEPAD, to help the whole AU system deliver as one, which means that we need to create the necessary synergies on the basis of the projects that have been identified, so that we lead them to financial close and we create the conditions that are necessary for right implementation to take place. We are extremely pleased to have Honorable Raila Odinga as the High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa. We hosted him in Nepal, and he gave us a lecture on transport and energy, on not a theoretical lecture, but on the basis of his particular knowledge of what he did in Kenya, and on his particular understanding on what regional integration means. So he has already started working with us, as the Commissioner was saying, and we are sure that we'll be working hand in hand within that constant spirit of delivering as one. I would like to specifically mention the fact that the way we are moving into implementation is also maintaining the pertinent dimension of partnerships. The European Union, China, and GIZ, the German government, is supporting quite heavily what we are doing in the domain of infrastructure development. The key dimension which links our interaction is Africa's interests. And Africa's interests are within PIDA priority projects. So these partnerships have matured so that we look at our interests, and looking at our interests allows us to better frame common interests between us and our partners. So I have 1 minute and 2 messages. The first message is the reiteration of the fact that we need acceleration. African governments are spending about $30 billion a year in infrastructure. We still have 90 in terms of deficit. We need to accelerate. It's not a question of lack of financial resources, it's a question of lack of bankable and investable projects and sound rules, and we need to do our homework. And my second message is that I would like to sincerely thank the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for all the facilities that were provided for an excellent organization of this meeting. My dear brother, the Permanent Secretary, and we felt truly Africans to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mayaki, and my apologies for pushing you, but you did deliver as a surgeon. I think that title should be Dr. Squared. Thank you very much for that. Without further ado, please allow me to invite our guest of honor, Honorable J.B. Matiza, to come and deliver his opening statement, and can we welcome him to the stage?
The former Prime Minister of Kenya and the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, Minister of State for Matabele North Province, Comrade Richard Moyo in absentia, African Union Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Dr. Amani Abol Zaid, Secretary General for COMESA, Ms. Shailesh Kapepe, Chief Executive Officer of NEPAD, Dr. Ibrahim Asami Mayaki, Secretary for Transport and Infrastructure Development in the Republic of Zimbabwe, Engineer Amos Marawa, the RMP Cameroon Director General, Mr. Joseph Ngo, representative of our international cooperation partners, international and regional organizations, private sector and project owners, speakers and panelists of various sector sessions, members of the media present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Republic of Zimbabwe and on my behalf as the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development, I would like to welcome you all to Zimbabwe and Victoria Falls. I would like to express my profound gratitude and appreciation to all of you who have accepted our invitation to attend the 4th program of infrastructure development in Africa, PIDA, week here in Victoria Falls. As you are aware, this program was adopted as a strategic framework for regional infrastructure development and integration by our heads of state and governments during their 18th AU summit held in January 2012 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The aim was to promote the development of infrastructure comprehensively, taking into consideration transport, energy, transboundary water resources, and ICT. The approval of the strategic framework of the program for infrastructure development in Africa by the African Union Assembly in 2012 was born out of the realization that for Africa to enhance its infrastructure, there is need to create a platform to bring together key stakeholders involved in the implementation of the PIDA program and take stock of progress and identify strategies to continue to accelerate the implementation, which I understand is the program here. Great African leaders from the times of our founding fathers, historians, researchers, academics, innovators, and business people have always recognized the fact that infrastructure is a potent catalyst for wide economic participation. Abundant empirical evidence points to the fact that infrastructure provision is a means of poverty alleviation and more rapid economic growth among the poorest regional economies. Infrastructure development can contribute to growth and development through several channels, such as reducing transaction costs, increasing the durability of capital goods, fostering higher trade and investment, expanding demand and supply, diversification, and achieving economies of scale and scope. Regional integration is promoted through infrastructure that both leads to increased production and supports the distribution of goods and services within and between countries. Infrastructure also promotes increased and more diversified economic production and the integration of markets. Therefore, regional integration in Africa would be key to growth of African economies. However, it is saddening to note that intra-Africa trade has remained limited primarily due to inadequate infrastructure. Honorable Ministers and distinguished guests, historically Africa's trade reforms have mostly been negotiated with donors as part of adjustment programs, which unfortunately did not give Africa a competitive advantage in negotiating towards better economies. Governments, as they develop, need to increase consultation with other sectors, such as the private sector, and work towards the development of world-class service standards tailor-made to address Africa's challenges and needs. The PIDA program is such a vital initiative, not only to catalyze intra-African trade flows, but perhaps more important, to provide a wider platform to encourage investment. Program Director, distinguished guests, I want to emphasize the fact that regional economic integration through infrastructure development remains the essential mechanism for reconnecting Africans with one another at both social and cultural levels. More importantly, for addressing the issue that most of our countries have small economies. This has limited us as Africa in negotiations and bargaining meaningfully in respective fora such as trade and economic negotiations and other geopolitical strategic imperatives at the global level. I therefore lend my full support to the theme for PIDA Week 2018, namely realizing Africa's integration through smart infrastructure and good governance. This theme resonates strongly with our vision. That is only through African solidarity and effective collaboration that African countries will be able to claim their rightful place in global economic matters for the benefit of the African child. Most importantly, PIDA project owners and shareholders need to have the capacity, mechanisms, and enabling environment to practice good governance. For Africa to realize a competitive future, there is need for greater investment in Africa's people, as well as measures that encourage private investment in infrastructure and production. Esteemed guests, I dare say that historically African countries inherited underdeveloped infrastructure geared toward export imports, lacking capital, and skewed towards supplying unfinished goods to the advanced countries. This paradigm has had investors focused on infrastructure that supported export-import transportation rather than focusing on transforming and improving local productive capacity as well as promoting intra-Africa trade. This is reason enough for us to reverse this legacy. And as a continent, we crafted a new trajectory and have turned a corner. I'm also encouraged in that our international cooperating partners have come on board and embraced our new vision of continental integration. We continue to look forward to working together with these and other partners as we move forward. But as all of us sitting here know too well the reason for doing what we are setting out to do over the next 4 days go beyond reasons of pride and ideology, but the heartfelt desire transforming African economies through smart infrastructure and good governance. Nevertheless, Africa, in the face of all these challenges, has managed to achieve notable milestones such as the recently launched African Continental Free Trade Area, and the creation of a single African air transport market earlier this year. Both these initiatives, amongst others, rely heavily on infrastructure development across all four of the PIDA sectors, which are transport, energy, water, and telecommunication ICT, and are aimed at boosting Africa's integration. This singular realization of the momentous need for integrating African economies through infrastructure development makes us privileged to host PIDA Week 2018. On behalf of the Republic of Zimbabwe, we appreciate the collective gains that would accrue to our respective national states. As a continental initiative, PIDA provides a common framework for African stakeholders to build the infrastructure necessary to integrate the continent physically, economically, and socially, offering opportunities to boost intra-Africa trade, support the continental blueprint for industrialization, the action plan for accelerated industrial development for Africa, PIDA, in order to create new jobs for Africa's growing population and improving overall socio-economic development on the continent. The African Union cooperating and development partners are challenging you and I as true patriots and as committed public servants to play our respective roles in accelerating the pace of implementation of PIDA projects so that the stride is commensurate with global development and Africa's aspirations. Let us use opportunities presented by history to us and transform the current state of affairs. There is need for us to reposition the African continent to industrialize. This is a precursor to promoting economic growth, creating sustainable jobs, raising incomes, and fostering transformation development. Most regional integration initiatives that have been undertaken so far, from the Lagos Plan of Action to NEPAD, and inclusive of the African Union Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, are aimed at trying to resolve the need to integrate the physical infrastructure of the African continent. Through PIDA Week, we seek to complement these, but more importantly, we want to draw attention to an often neglected aspect of the regional and continental integration discourse. We are talking here about the smart infrastructure and good governance. The uniqueness of PIDA Week is in the fact that it not only brings together stakeholders, but also showcases progress made in selected projects, provides a marketing platform to accelerate implementation, addresses crucial issues around resource mobilization, and creating an enabling environment. In light of the above, a site visit in Kazungula Bridge has been scheduled during the course of this event. I hope you all take pride in the achievement made so far. In PIDA Week is derived from the appreciation of the fact that there are cross linkages with various stakeholders in project preparation, resource mobilization, and financing mechanism, capacity development, job creation, and empowerment, smart and integrated infrastructure development, technology, innovation, and industrialization, policy, legal, and regulatory framework. Ladies and gentlemen, for us to have any chance of transforming the current state of affairs and to have a meaningful chance of attaining the desired state of affairs, we will need to be brutally honest with one another in identifying and tackling the challenges before us. Let us therefore allow frank engagements and debate on the issues that financiers, development, and cooperating partners, contractors, beneficiaries are constantly bringing to our attention in regard to challenges that they experience as they formulate, negotiate, and implement PIDA projects. It is our strong view as the Zimbabwean government that the first practical and necessary step toward the achievement of practical integration of the African continent is the need to ensure effective infrastructure services within the SADC region and within the tripartite area, including COMESA and the EAC regional communities, and within the whole AU. On behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, we have stated categorically that Zimbabwe is open for business, based on which we are committed to work with your good selves to advance Zimbabwe's infrastructure development strategy. We are grateful that we have and continue to benefit from the program of infrastructure development in Africa. Some of the projects that PIDA has advanced in Zimbabwe include the Batoka Gorge, to be jointly implemented by Zambia and Zimbabwe, the North-South Power Transmission Corridor, linking power generation sites in the north and with the load centers south of Zimbabwe, as part of our cherished regional power trading system in COMESA and SADC, and our components on the Trans-African Highway project within the North-South Corridor, to mention but a few. I am confident, therefore, that as we review the current PIDA program and develop the next PIDA priority action plan, we can take on board other priority projects that will advance of socio-economic development programs. I therefore urge the gathering to develop a concrete program of action that will assist us to accelerate the pace of implementing PIDA projects, thus ensuring real and meaningful linkages necessary to move the continent forward. Program Director, I hope that the spirit of your deliberations will be guided by African values of Ubuntu, which implies hard work, respect, honesty, fairness, and unity. I therefore call on all of us as Africans to go beyond the call of duty and make meaningful contribution towards improving the lives of ordinary people across the continent. Esteemed guests, I therefore commit to creating platforms for further engagement on the PIDA projects within our purview, and to lobby my peers in government and the region and the rest of the continent towards harnessing buy-in for implementation of all PIDA projects. We are all invited to deliberate freely so that we contribute to the success of this worthy program and therefore ensure that Africa's infrastructure becomes competitive. I would wish everyone a pleasant stay in Victoria Falls, one of the 7 wonders of the world. I also hope you will find time in your busy schedule to visit the majestic falls and all it offers. Once again, welcome to Zimbabwe, and in particular, the Victoria Falls.
Another hand of applause to the Minister for his inspiring speech and requesting us that we adopt the African Ubuntu spirit. Okay, I've got a note with some instruction. But before we get to the instruction, I know the Minister is really pressed for time. In the meantime, can I invite COMESA, Mr. John Baptiste, who is the Director for Infrastructure, to give a vote of thanks. As this coming up, can I also have the 2 lady ushers who are going to present the Minister with a present to come on near the stage.
Thank you very much, Amos Marawa, Honorable Minister.
I am not really taking too much time on your side. I am just being requested by the organizing committee to make a vote of thanks, and we really want to express our sincere gratitude for having accepted to take this time of your busy schedule to come to open this meeting. So I just want to say, when we, NEPAD, COMESA, and African Union made a request to the government of Zimbabwe to host this PIDA week, I want to tell all these people that the response has been very positive and very quick, and we really appreciate this way of doing. His Excellency Mayaki was saying, what we need accelerating. I think if you continue working like this one, we will move very fast. Without taking your time, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Commissioner for that vote of thanks, which was brief and to the point. I know the minister is pressed for time. Can I ask the two ushers to present a gift to the guest of honor before we move to a group photo, which is only going to involve or comprise the panelists on the table. We are pressed for time. We could have had a bigger group photo, but I think to allow the minister to depart, we are going to limit only to the presenters. Can we stand for a group photo with the minister? Thank you. And this brings to an end, to a close, this opening session. You are all invited for tea at the designated places, but can we allow the minister and the high table to exit the room? Thank you very much to everybody.